me tell you about a friend. It's Craig LeBlanc where the good times never end. Talking Parks and Rec, it's a show you gotta know. Welcome one and all to the Daily Parks and Rec Show. It's the Daily Parks and Rec Show.
I think you start learning that you are as much as you're in it with a group of people, and I love making friends. You are a little bit on your own, and so you have to learn how to advocate for yourself in any way you can, or if you need to. It's interesting because I was at a sports panel last night, and a lot of parents and young girls there, and they're talking about how to resolve conflict and things with coaches, and it did make me think, like, the more you can allow young athletes to have conversations with their coach.
Welcome back to the Daily Parks and Rec Show, Leadership Series. Today we're joined by Jourdan Ziff, former professional athlete turned co-founder of Her Sports, a digital media company giving women's athletics the coverage it deserves. From Division I soccer to playing professionally across Finland, Puerto Rico, Brazil, and Canada, Jourdan's journey is proof that leadership is born through grit, growth, and global experience. She's faced the highs of competition and the hidden challenges behind the spotlight, learning to advocate for herself, push through injury, and build community wherever she played. Now she's using that same drive to empower the next generation of women in sports, not just on the field, but behind the mic, on the page, and in every story that deserves to be told. Get ready for an inspiring conversation about passion, purpose, and how sports can spark leadership that lasts a lifetime. Let's dive in.
All right, we are live again. This is Craig LeBlanc, the Daily Parks and Rec Show. Had a last-minute cancellation, and I called a few people that I'm pretty close to, Jourdan being one of them. I said, hey, can you take a live interview? She's like, well, I'm driving on LA, and we agree, pretty much is sitting around doing nothing.
Exactly. Tons of time.
That's it. And we'll say a little bit more about Jourdan and what she's doing with Her Sports. Her Sports is the name of the brand, company, nonprofit, wherever y'all are. What are y'all categorized as now? Is it a company or nonprofit, or what is it?
We're a company. We'll be for profit. We're just very mission driven.
I see.
We're a
Okay.
women's digital sports media company.
Fantastic. Well, we get to tell you all about her vision and how we're going to be working together with her and her co-founder here in a minute. But first, let me go ahead and play a couple promos for the sponsor of today's show. Again, sponsored by Palco Lighting. They sell sports arena lights that Parks and Rec departments. If you have an electrician on staff or one that you work with in the city, and you've got good poles and brackets, and all you need is a good 100,000-hour municipal grade sports light that'll last forever, pretty much. Palco can help relight a field for like $35,000 versus $250,000, which is a lot of field. So it fits squarely in the maintenance budget. And they've been a longtime sponsor of the work that we're doing. So we'll play a promo for them, and then we'll also play a promo for our strategic partners. If you want to be a strategic partner of the Daily Parks and Rec Show, we have multiple partners that are helping us co-create shows and underwriting stuff. The content creation that we're doing, also underwriting some of the content creation that Jourdan and Her Sports is doing. Please consider working with us to help uplift your brand and the whole industry of Parks and Rec at the same time. So we'll play those two promos back to back, and then we'll come back and start our conversation with Jourdan.
When you invest in our high-performance LED sports arena lights, you're not just upgrading your facilities, you're helping us illuminate the untold stories of parks and recreation communities. Every purchase directly supports the Daily Parks and Rec Show, a media platform on a mission to celebrate the heart and soul of our local parks and programs. From after-school activities to summer leagues, these spaces shape lives, and their stories deserve to be told. Why your support matters. Capturing community impact. Your contribution helps us assemble a talented team of digital artists, storytellers, and filmmakers to create compelling videos, articles, and short films that spotlight how Parks and Rec programs change lives. sharing untold stories. From a child's first home run to lifelong friendships forged on the court, we'll document these priceless moments and share them with the world. Inspiring the next generation by highlighting the joy, inclusivity, and opportunities found in our parks, we foster a deeper appreciation for these vital community spaces. Light up arenas, brighten futures. Your choice to install LED sports arena lights isn't just a smart investment in energy efficiency and performance, it's an investment in stories that deserve to be told. Be part of the story. Take action today. Purchase LED sports arena lights and help us shine a spotlight on the heartwarming stories that define our parks and communities. Contact us now to learn more about our products and how your support fuels the daily Parks and Rec show. Together, we'll shine a light on the moments that matter most.
Are you a vendor, brand, or service provider ready to connect with the heartbeat of local communities? At DPRS Media Co, we tell the stories shaping parks and recreation across America. Through podcasts, live streams, videos, and newsletters, we reach frontline leaders, city directors, and decision makers every single week. From youth sports and facilities to programming and policy, our audience is your audience. Sponsoring or partnering with DPRS Media Co puts your brand in front of the professionals who build, budget, and buy for their communities. Launching a new product, growing your presence in public spaces, targeting cities, counties, or departments, DPRS is your trusted media partner. Whether you're in software, turf, aquatics, robotics, smart cities, or special events, partnering with DPRS puts your brand in the story. With commercials, interviews, social campaigns, newsletters, and live shows, we're your media team. Partner with us and grow your impact in the $200 billion Parks and Rec industry. DPRS Media Co. Stories that move Parks and Rec forward. Your audience is here. Let's meet them.
All right, so back with Jourdan, who is moving at 60 miles an hour, 70 miles an hour.
A very, very safe speed limit, mile an hour.
Good answer. Good answer. So Jourdan is a former pro athlete. Maybe give us a little about your background as to how you got into being a pro athlete, and tell everybody a little bit about that journey so they can get to know you a little bit more.
Yeah, I grew up in a lot of sports, but soccer was kind of my main focus, and started when I was 4 years old, got into club soccer at 8 years old, played throughout high school, and then was recruited to go play Division I at Loyola University, Maryland. So I grew up in California, but made a big jump over to the East Coast to spend my college years and get my degree there, and played Division I 4 years, and I had a pretty gnarly injury one of those years, so was out for about 9 months on an injury. And so when my senior year came around, I just felt like I wasn't done. I wanted to keep playing, and I also wanted to travel and see more, and through my sport, it was an opportunity to do that. So straight from my graduation, I started my professional career and went over to Finland. And so had a year in Finland, a year in Puerto Rico, a year in Brazil, and sometime last year in Vancouver, Canada. So I hit a few continents.
Wow, that's amazing. So it seems like you've lived the dream life up till now. You know, so many of us just want to travel and want to be a pro athlete, and you've kind of lived that life. I guess that's the good side of it. What's like the maybe dark side of it that a lot of people that aren't living that life wouldn't know about?
Yeah, I mean, I like that that's one of your first questions, honestly, because even I feel as that pro athlete and that person who's traveled, a big misconception sometimes on what people, think that, you're out frolicking and traveling the world and, making a ton of money, and especially for a female athlete, all those things are normally not the case. Even the traveling part is hard at times because, for instance, Brazil is a massive country, and I played top division there. And you would go into a city, go into Rio, play a game, stay one night in a hotel, and then you're out.
Wow.
And so it's demanding, and you're training 6 days a week, and you have one off day, and a lot of times that one off day at some of the top levels, you're just fighting to recover and make sure you can perform at practice so that you get minutes in whatever's coming the next week. So, there's injury, and there's also, you're doing it alone. So as much as I love it, and I made lifelong friends and connections and changed my whole outlook on this, you have a very interesting kind of time in your life doing it, and then it being really good.
Oh, I think we might be having a little, you're probably in okay, we got you. Back up and say like the last 10 seconds.
Yeah, just that there's a really interesting dichotomy of kind of that professional athlete, that even in a team sport, you're loving what you're doing, but you're also kind of doing it alone, and it can be kind of isolating. So, there's a big push and pull there of, you love what you're doing, it's your passion, and yet you're out there alone, and it's high stakes, high pressure.
Yeah. I kind of like this, how we're jumping from cell phone tower to cell phone tower. So I might have you repeat something, back up 10 seconds. And it's amazing how when you ask a person, can you repeat what you said? And then their second answer seems to be just so much more thought out because they've had a dry run through it. So we're going to play with that and just embrace the fact that we're doing this.
Perfect. Don't even, I won't even cut out, and you'll be like, actually, can you rephrase that one more time?
Right.
Perfect. That's how you become polished on a live.
That's right. And I've noticed a lot of the new podcasters will use this term. I forget where I heard it from, but they're like, say more. And when you ask a person to just say more about a topic they just spoke about, it's amazing the quality increase when you ask somebody to just repeat what you said, say a little bit more. So that's cool.
It's so simple, but yeah, you get a lot out of someone that way.
Now, I remember when I was in track, and my coach was he was an Olympic bronze medalist in the 400. And he was talking to us about being a pro athlete. And he says, when you go up against pro athletes, these are no longer people that have a scholarship or have another career that they're maybe studying for. These are people that put food on the table through using their body to be some of the best in the world. And it's just a whole nother level. And you can get let go of a team because you're just not performing, because these are for-profit businesses many times. So maybe speak a little bit about the pressure that's on you versus D1 athlete and now pro athlete. What does that look like?
Yeah, that is a really great question. I think that that's something that you learn a little bit the hard way through that experience, through that transition. In college, as a D1 athlete, your best interest is their best interest. I mean, they want you to be getting good grades at the same time so you're eligible for your sport. I mean, you're taken care of. They help you with that schedule and that balance. But as soon as you hit professional, and that it really is that for-profit, you are a business commodity, and there is a difference of how human you're seen versus how much they can get out of you. And that's difficult because you need to prove yourself, and you want to be that. But at the same time, you have to look out for yourself and your own best interest. And I think that when you start hitting those top levels, it gets really difficult to put yourself first, whether that's physical health, mental health, seeing family, because you don't have that luxury. Because in the end, there's someone that can replace you. And the more that you sacrifice, the more that you are giving these entities that, it's in their best interest then to keep you. And that gets difficult because if you don't sacrifice, then you're replaced, or, you look like you're almost not up for the job. And that's difficult because, especially as a competitor, and you're usually pretty competitive if you're playing at that level, you lose sight of that. And you're like, oh, I'll give more and give more. And you don't really understand that that's happening until you're like, whoa, I can be so easily replaced. All of a sudden I'm injured. And now they're like, all right, on to the next. And you're like, what do you mean? I just sacrificed 6 months of my life doing everything right,
Yeah.
So it's a big difference.
Yeah. And then I love how you phrased it, how you're essentially a commodity in sports, in pro sports, and can be replaced. And sometimes your teammates may be injured, but maybe they don't talk about it. They push themselves too hard past injury, and maybe they ruin their whole career because they're just either not outspoken enough, or maybe the team just really doesn't care. They're just kind of anything to say on that as far as injury and pushing yourself and teammates, that kind of stuff?
Definitely. I think that was something I learned actually later than some of my teammates. And it was interesting because in different parts of the world and at different levels, you see it, just different experiences. I was someone that dealt with injuries. I think that also I pushed myself really hard, but I thought that in order to get the playing time I wanted, I couldn't sit out. I had to show I could tough most things out. And it did end up in some injuries. In Puerto Rico specifically, I had an ongoing hamstring injury that I think also you show up for a season. These coaches don't know you your whole life. They don't know that, oh, this girl, like, if she's out, she's really injured. They don't know that about you. So if you show up and you get injured, you know, first month there, and you're like, I need to sit out of practice, that coach is like, well, you know, is this person really the pro athlete that I want on my team? So you do push through a lot. And I had an injury I dealt with really bad in Puerto Rico, and I would hate my hamstring. I would be taking Advil, and even to the point where one of my teammates on the field knew I was struggling, and she's like, okay, I'll run for the long balls, and you dish them because I couldn't do a lot, and I was pushing through it. And then later in my career, I saw that, oh, this athlete's sitting out of practice because their knee is bothering them. Like, and you start, I could do that. It's probably in my better long-term interest to start doing that. I learned it late.
Yeah. So let's talk about each of the different countries and what it was like to play in. So what was the first country that you played, that you went pro in?
That was Finland. Pretty big shock from, that was definitely a different life there than anything. I'd never really lived out of America at that point, so I went straight there.
So maybe back up a little bit, and what was it like? Maybe describe the emotions, what it was. Obviously, it's a career change. When you got that notification that you've been accepted to go pro, what was going through your head back then?
Yeah, I mean, it's something that with most pro athletes' careers, I mean, you might hear nothing, and then one day, oh, I'm moving to this country. So you are kind of sitting and waiting and preparing yourself best in order to seize the opportunity if it comes. And so I was practicing through the spring of my senior year with the team, even though our senior season had already ended. And I wasn't, you're not sure if you're going to get it. And then when they were like, okay, I was going to show up 2 months late, or 1 month late, because I had to graduate. And they were like, all right, we'll still sign her. And then it's like, okay, you almost just don't think about it too much. You just pack your bag. And I think that worked for me, because if I went home to California before, settled back in, and you have that time to, all right, I'm moving, it can be intimidating, those experiences. But I just kind of ripped the Band-Aid off and was like, all right, I'll do it. And I was set up with a host family there and went right into what's their way of life and how can I make it work.
So when you say host family, so what was it worth to you financially to move there? I don't know how I know nothing about pro sports, soccer, female. Maybe give us a little, what do the numbers look like?
Yeah, in terms of like the incentive for me going and taking that offer.
So do they cover room and board, travel expenses? Do they give you a stipend and so much a year?
Yeah, definitely as I was starting, and I wasn't in Finland's top league, but regardless, I think females have been very behind in terms of the pay for women's sports, but most of the time, and especially in this case, your room and board is paid for, your food is paid for. In this case, I was able to use a car, which was huge, because actually where I was living was 30 minutes away from our training, and then you're given a monthly stipend. But at that level, it's really low. But really, I was able to just, kind of live for free and then use that stipend to save and travel. And in Europe, I did get to travel a good amount. I remember I had one off weekend, and there was only one other foreign player on the team, and she couldn't go on this trip. And I was like, all right, well, I'm going to go to Iceland alone. And I flew to Iceland by myself and had a weekend in Iceland and went back to training next week. So that was a unique experience for the travel and getting that European taste of soccer.
Okay, so you're just not playing in Finland. You're just on the Finland team, and you're playing all over Europe. Is that right?
So in each country, you play in their national league. So you're not playing internationally unless you're in a tournament.
I
So
see.
in Finland, I was borrowed on a team that was going to represent the Finland in Champions League, and then we would have gone to Estonia and played other countries. Other than that, you're playing in the national league. So we played internally around Finland in their professional league.
Okay, so then they've got the whole country of Finland. How many teams were in Finland that y'all would play with?
I mean, Finland has 3 tiers of league, and then within those, you have around 10 teams at each level. So there's a good amount of teams, and then it's really the quality of play really jumps from level to level. And in different countries, that's different. Puerto Rico is an island, much smaller. They had 1 professional league and 7 teams, so a much smaller group, but playing at a higher level. So it's interesting how each country differs.
I see. Now, did you stay in Finland? Did you stay at one level, or did you graduate? Or how fluid can you be? Like, let's say you come in at the first level, can you ascend quickly within the same season, or does it take time, or how does that work?
So if you sign a contract, and you mostly sign a contract at least through a full season, then you stick the team out with the season. We were in the 2nd division, and we won the league. So then that entire team gets promoted the next year into the top. So you kind of promote or relegate with the team you're on, but in between seasons, there are transfer windows, and where you can transfer, go to a different team. There's usually 1 transfer window within your season as well, depending on the league you're playing in, that you can actually be bought out of your contract and get pulled to a different team mid-season. But there's only certain very defined windows for that.
I see. And so there can be some horse trading between seasons where they're like, "Ooh, we really like this girl. She's done good. Let's bring her onto our team, try to buy out her contract," kind of stuff.
Exactly. Yeah. So even when I was going to be borrowed for an international tournament, they were going to pay those transfer fees for me to go there and go back to my team afterwards in order to make it work. So, yeah, it really depends on your situation.
All right. So coming from America, what's the culture like? What's the culture shift? What's different about Finland for those that have never been?
Yeah. Finland specifically, I would say for me, stark differences were the way people interacted. Americans tend to operate with a lot of like pleasantries almost and small talk, and the Finnish people aren't interested in that. They would, you're passing someone in the store, there's no good morning, it's like I know you or I don't, and it comes off cold. But then I found the people and the relationships to be a lot more loyal and intentional. So, in one way people think that comes off cold, but really I think it showed like a much more intentional way of communicating. So that was a really big difference. And then also the way they eat. The food for me was very different. I like a lot of different kinds of foods and styles, and it wasn't my favorite place. Their culinary experience wasn't my favorite out of everywhere I've traveled. A lot of kind of just fish, pork, chicken, but a little more bland. A lot of potatoes.
Lots of potatoes in Finland. And what's the weather like? That's more of a up north kind of stuff.
Yes. Yeah, they're very north. So I got there, and they didn't have blackout curtains in my room yet, and it was summer, and the sun doesn't set. So that was quite the adjustment as well, being like, okay, it's 2 a.m. and the sun is up. And then in the winters, it's the opposite. Luckily, I wasn't there much of the winters because again, I'm coming from being a California born and raised, so I don't think I could have done dark, cold all day. But yeah, freezing temperatures.
Wow.
Freezing.
Okay, so you played there for a year. What caused the shift? And then where did you go next?
Yeah, I went back to California, and then COVID hit, so kind of gave everyone that break, and figuring out what's next, what's happening in the world. And in 2021 is when I was starting to see, okay, are things opening back up again? I'm ready to play, and what's operating and how is it operating? And that's when I was connected to Puerto Rico, which was night and day from Finland. I mean, a Northern European country to an island in the Caribbean.
Yeah. And so when did you go to, oh, well, you know what? I haven't even asked you, what position did you play? And did you shift, or how does that work?
Yeah, I'm an attacking player, so I would sometimes be out wide or in midfield, but for the most part, I became more known. My position was a center forward. So
that's a lot of running, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely that was part of my game. Probably why I got a few injuries, but I was definitely relied pretty heavily on being a runner and staying pretty fit.
Yeah, a lot of my friends that were in soccer were cross-country runners because they would put in so many miles in a race.
My sister was a soccer player and actually ended up focusing on cross-country and track and went to college for cross-country. So she has that same experience.
All right, so now Puerto Rico, what does that look like? You were there for a year?
I was there for, they had 2 seasons. I was there, but from like June to the next June. And I mean, I love Puerto Rico so much. I just think as a place, as a community, the way they live, I learned a lot there personally. I feel like that was where a lot of my personal growth happened. Almost being able to slow down, live a island kind of lifestyle. The cliche, I feel like, is kind of true. But the soccer training was, up to that point in my life, the most intense I've ever done in my whole life. We had a very professional team, a great stadium, and we had double days every day. And actually there we trained with the men's team in the morning at 9 a.m. And then at night we would have our own training and come back at, one of the seasons it was like 5 p.m. training, the other season was like 7 p.m. training. So that was like morning and night, and you're just using your daytime hours to recover and eat, maybe take a nap, and train again.
Now, I know that the food's probably a lot better in Puerto Rico, correct?
Yeah, I love the food there. Definitely a country that is based in like that rice and beans, and then they do a lot with flavor. So I really enjoyed it. The culture in Puerto Rico is amazing. And I mean, it's not bad that, you know, we could leave training and jump in the ocean. So there's an ocean all around, and exploring an island, it's like you have an off day and it's like, oh, what waterfalls do you go to? So in that way, it was an incredible experience. To be able to live there and settle in there was cool.
Yeah, so this is a slightly small commercial for Puerto Rico.
Yeah, actually, did you know that's what you were going to get?
Yeah. I actually considered moving to Puerto Rico, and then same thing, COVID hit, and we had to kind of cancel our plans.
No, that would have been the perfect time, honestly, to go and just hunker down.
Yeah, and the cost of living is great there. I mean, as far as if you have an income outside the country, it's really economical to live there.
Yeah, and that's something I know a lot of people have done. I think within those years, too, there was a shift of people, you know, getting real estate out there and deciding to kind of make that their home base. And so, yeah, it's definitely been a transition.
Okay, so then what was it like because they have kind of a soccer culture. Well, I imagine in Europe and a lot of the rest of the world, soccer is like the sport, whereas in America we have like football, baseball, and stuff. But what was the cultural, like the sports culture shift like?
Yeah, I would say that learning about that shift within the culture of my sport was interesting through where I played, because Europe, I didn't experience it as much being in Finland, but I saw it way more, especially traveling. I was in Finland and traveling around Europe during the 20s. So soccer was a buzz there, and it is usually anyway. And then in Puerto Rico, it was as well starting to get a taste of that and it being the main sport. In Puerto Rico, I do feel like they do have basketball and baseball, but soccer is huge there. And I started to feel that. But it really was no comparison to playing in Brazil because soccer there, I mean, once I saw what soccer meant to people in Brazil, it was nothing compared. So.
And that was your next stop after Puerto Rico. You went straight to Brazil.
Yeah.
And so that there.
Yeah, I did, and
I was thinking though. Yeah. So those teams, do they look kind of at the global roster of soccer players to recruit from? All the different countries.
Yeah, they do, but in certain countries, it's a lot less common than. In Puerto Rico, we had a lot of Americans on our team, actually, and we were allowed up to 5, but even some of the Puerto Ricans were, because Puerto Rico is an American or U.S. territory, some were girls that grew up in the U.S. their whole life, but also were able to be Puerto Rican citizens as well, and so then they classified as Puerto Rican, even though they weren't very dissimilar to me. Whereas Brazil, I was one of the only Americans, not just on my team, but in the entire league. It actually was pretty uncommon to have foreigners, especially from North America in Brazil. So that became, and I didn't even realize that. I became the first American to score in Brazil's top league. So
Wow.
It just spoke to how few actually go and play there. So it was different depending on the place.
Okay, so next we get to hear all about Brazil, but we're at the halfway point. So let me go ahead and play a promo for our next show, which is the Youth Sports Mastery Show with my host, Aaron Locks. And that's how we got connected. Aaron had you on as a guest to the show, and so I want to hear all about that. So we'll go ahead and play the promo for the Youth Sports Mastery Show, which is coming up immediately following this show. It's 1:30 p.m. Eastern every Thursday, where my host, Aaron Locks, brings on people just like Jourdan across the world and country to talk about sports and youth sports. And then after that, I'll play our facilities maintenance show, which is a show we've been building out. It's a morning show, 10:30 a.m. Eastern, all about maintaining the facilities of Parks and Rec. So we'll play those two and come right back and finish our conversation with Jourdan.
At DPRS Media Co, we don't just create content. We elevate community through storytelling. Now, we're proud to introduce the newest addition to the family. Welcome to Youth Sports Mastery, the podcast where champions are shaped not just on the field, but in life. Hosted by National Academy of Athletics founder Aaron Locks. Youth Sports Mastery dives deep into how youth sports can empower kids, strengthen communities, and build leaders. From coaching culture to recreation strategy, and from player development to parent impact, every episode brings game-ready insight from the people making it happen. Youth Sports Mastery goes live every Thursday at 1:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Only on the Daily Parks and Rec Show, sponsored by National Academy of Athletics and powered by DPRS Media Co. This is where purpose meets play.
Behind every thriving park, every safe playground, every event-ready field, there's a team working before sunrise and long after sunset. This is Facility Maintenance, the only show created for and by the unsung heroes of Parks and Recreation. Brought to you by DPRS Media Co, where real work gets real recognition. From restrooms to rec centers, HVAC to turf tech, we go beyond the job site into the heart of operations that keep our communities moving. Our mission? To elevate maintenance teams through stories, solutions, and shared experience. Our vision? A world where every facility crew is seen, valued, and fully supported. Each episode features operators, innovators, and leaders, sharing tools, tech, and tactics that make the impossible look easy. Facility maintenance isn't just a job. It's purpose, it's passion, and now it's a show. facility maintenance, where tools meet purpose, where work becomes legacy.
All right, let me bring Jourdan back up. Okay, so Brazil, what is it like playing there? How did you get the phone call? Were you excited about it? Tell us about that whole experience.
Yeah. My family, my mom's side of the family is Brazilian. And so because my grandmother worked for the Brazilian consulate, I was able to have this Brazilian citizenship my whole life, even though I had never, I visited once, but I didn't know the language. I just knew it was a part of my culture in some ways. And I ended up getting connected to the coach of Santos FC. And Santos is one of the most renowned football clubs for men and for women, because that's where Pelé played, that's where Neymar played, and Marta. So there were some just big names that had careers at Santos. And so as soon as I knew it was an opportunity, I was just, how do I make it work? And I think the coach thought I knew more Portuguese than I did. I knew nothing. And he also wanted a defender, and I was an attacker, and I was like, no, I can do it. Whatever, I'll make it work. And so it was just something I wanted to go after so bad. And so I showed up there, and that's where I spent 2023.
So what's the difference between a defender and attacker? Like I'm not a soccer person, so I'd like for you to for those who don't know much about it.
Yeah. So if you have two goals on the field, the defender is the one defending your goal, and the attacker is the one scoring for you. So it would be, defense on football.
Right.
You're defending. You're not usually the one scoring touchdowns, and, the people on the other side in the offense are. So I'm part of the offense.
Okay, so let's talk about the culture of Brazil, both the sports culture and then just the regular people culture, and what's that like?
Yeah. Brazil, I guess I'll start with the people culture. They're very warm, very inclusive. They call everyone aunt and uncle, but in Portuguese, it's like everyone's a tia or a tio, even if they just met you on the street. They're very accepting. I did learn very fast. Very few people know English there. It's not taught in schools as much, whereas for Finland and Puerto Rico, there was so much English around me. Even in Finland, it's such a part of their education system that there wasn't a big language barrier, where Brazil, it was huge. I mean, I spent most of the few months just listening to everyone. I couldn't speak to anyone. So for not being able to speak to them, they were so lovely, and, they just go off your energy and are like, we like you. And I'm like, that's great. And all I can do is smile and laugh and then try to just kick ass on the field, because we have that in common. But the language barrier, even on the field, was difficult, really difficult. And in the sports culture, it's insanely intense there. I've never experienced something so intense. And we have a very strong fan base at my soccer, or the team I was on. And even just the little fact speaks to that you can't have away fans at your home game, because it's too dangerous. So all your games, you only have home fans. So you're playing either in front of no one or in front of everyone. And your fans don't like you unless you're doing well. So they also aren't your supporter unless you're showing well for their team. So it was intense.
Wow, and you said it's dangerous to have away fans?
Yeah. You're definitely not allowed. And in special cases, they're in a very special, smaller section, but it's a law. It's a government law within São Paulo that it's not allowed because it's too dangerous.
Wow, that's intense. I thought we had rough fans over here.
Yeah, no, it's built into their system over there. So it's in their blood. It's a religion, soccer, for them.
Now, I'm curious, who was your favorite players growing up or throughout all this?
Yeah. Marta is a Brazilian, one of the most famous, kind of iconic figures in female soccer. And she was always one of my idols. And then also a girl that I ended up playing with in Brazil was one of my longtime idols, because she played for the Brazilian national team. And her name is Cristiane. And she was the other attacker on the team. So that was another kind of wild moment joining that team was, wow, I'm going to be playing next to her. And I saw her play in the World Cup when I was playing in Finland in Europe. So I watched Brazil versus Italy, and Cristiani was on the field. And then a few years later, I'm like, okay, teammate.
That's crazy.
So, yeah.
So what were some of the lessons that you learned over those 3 experiences that you kind of, like you said, with the injury, are there any others like that you learned by the time you got to Brazil?
Yeah, I think you start learning that you are, as much as you're in it with a group of people, and I love making friends, you are a little bit on your own, and so you have to learn how to advocate for yourself in any way you can, or if you need to. So that's a skill I really had to develop. And it's interesting because I was at a sports panel last night, and a lot of parents and young girls there, and they're talking about how to resolve conflict and things with coaches, and it did make me think, like, the more you can allow young athletes to have conversations with their coach, or have conversations with a parent doing that, or someone else doing it for them, you build those skills on how to advocate for yourself, how to have tough conversations, because in the end, at this level of sport, but also in life, you're navigating life on your own, and I'm traveling the world alone as a female, and so that's big lessons I had to learn.
Yeah. Now, over that whole, and is this your last position as a professional player, or was there something after that?
This was Brazil was my second to last, and then last year I spent time with the Whitecaps in Vancouver, Canada, and played in an international tournament there. So we traveled a bit all over for the Women's Champions Cup, and played against U.S. teams. We played against Mexico teams, and so yeah.
And that's pretty much the
But
highest.
that was the closest.
Okay, we lost you for a few seconds. Say more about what you just said.
But Vancouver is where I was last year, and we played teams in U.S., teams in Mexico, and it was the closest I had been to home, actually. There.
Yeah.
Funny enough.
So that was last year for you?
Yes, that was last year, up into the end of the year.
Okay, I didn't realize this was also recent for you. So you're just coming off of being a pro player, and so any reasons why you just said, okay, now I'm ready to pass this part of my life, and so I'm going to do something else? What were the causes of that?
Yeah, I think as an athlete, and I do identify so much as an athlete, but I think something in me always was that I had these other interests. I mean, some of that being travel, but I loved my business studies at my university. I loved these other things that my sport sometimes couldn't fill for me. And there was always a thought in my head of, well, what do I want to do? What do I want to be my passion while I'm playing the sport, but also after, because it wasn't going to be a forever thing, even if I did it till I was 35 or 38, that some girls are doing it that long. But I just was intrigued to work and see what passions there could be outside of it. So even in my little breaks in between these countries, I would try to explore that. And I started, exploring it more through sports media, because it intersected well with business and with my professional sports. And I was doing more of it, and I was seeing holes in that world, especially on the female side, that I would have wanted to be improved. And that's how I started to make that transition.
That's amazing. I'm so glad we've had this first part of the conversation to get to understand who you are, your background, and really how you brought us into what it's like to travel and be a female athlete. And so now we'll talk about your current venture, which is kind of how we met, which is Her Sports. So why don't you tell us about, first of all, how'd y'all come up with the name and stuff, and kind of what y'all's mission and vision for this?
Yeah, so I was brought on as one of the first big hires, and I'm now part of the founding team. But a woman, Lisa Lamb, started and founded this company, and launched it in February. So and decided that our kind of beachhead market was going to be San Diego. And she came up with the name Her Sports because we wanted it simple and also to encompass a lot. And I think our goal is to be the voice of women's sports in San Diego, but we want to cover women's sports on a citywide level or on these local levels, because for women, there's really only some national coverage for women's sports, and even then, it's 8% of the coverage of sports. So there's so much that's missed when you're not covering city by city. And so we're covering the Division I collegiate and professional sports within San Diego, and our goal is to spread that to different cities. So we're Her Sports San Diego, and hopefully in the future we're Her Sports LA or Her Sports Chicago, and go from there.
Her Sports Global.
Her Sports Global. Her Sports Brazil. Her Sports
Right.
Finland. I'll go back.
Yeah.
They thought they got rid of me.
And so what's kind of the initial framework that y'all will create media around?
Yeah, so she spearheaded this with writing, and she is a reader. That's how she digested her news, and she would go to read about a women's sports event that she knew had a kind of crazy finish to a game, and she could never find it, but she'd be able to read on the men's side. And she just told me actually she was at a big tennis tournament, a professional tennis tournament, men's and women's, and afterwards they only reported on the men's results and not the women's. So for 2 years, she was emailing people and reaching out to news outlets like, can you cover this story? Can you cover this story? And she kind of just got so frustrated. She's like, I'll write it. I'll write the story. So she started a newsletter and started writing about what she wished she could read and ingest. And as I've been brought on, and I love writing, and we're going to keep developing this newsletter and putting out the schedules and the game recaps and these highlights, but also make it a digital media company for other people who consume news differently, whether that's a podcast or it's through social media. And so those are the channels that we're working on now.
So how big is y'all's newsletter as far as population? How many pages is it, and how often is it released?
Yeah, so it's a digital newsletter that comes 3 times a week straight to people's emails. And there they can find, on a Monday, they can find what happened over the weekend, what were the big game results. And on Thursdays, they can, Wednesdays, they get a schedule into their inbox of what are all the home games or the professional surf event that's happening, and to know what's upcoming on the weekend. And Thursdays, another one comes of these game previews of who are they playing, what is it going to be like, what's the rivalry there. And so it is just an email newsletter that comes 3 times a week. And that's how we're looking to keep expanding to more of the population and really trying to reach who are the people that are women's sports fans that don't have this, and also who are the people that could be women's sports fans that just don't have that connection yet because it hasn't been offered. These stories haven't been told, and people haven't been connected to the team. So,
I love it.
Yeah.
And so how do people find it out more, or how do they subscribe to it?
Yeah, I mean, if you go on our website at hersports.us, you can see our website. We have our stories posted across there, and also you can subscribe to just get the emails in your inbox. And the 3 times weekly newsletters are free to ingest, and then there's paid tiers if there's extra tips that you can get if you have, if you're a parent, you have athletes that want to know how do they reach the D1 level, how do they reach the pro level, and also start getting connected to the community within their city. And then also on social media, our Instagram is Her Sports San Diego. And then we'll be launching a podcast with you here. So
Yeah, that's right.
We're excited.
Yeah, and so for those who don't know, this is going to be one of our next podcasts that we're launching. I'm hoping to do a weekly podcast, but we'll do a monthly, we'll do once a year, whatever y'all can do, we'll do. But I'd love to help raise awareness around the work that y'all are doing, because I think it's so important. And I think Lisa stumbled upon a very legitimate problem as far as it's just not being covered. There's just no awareness, and they've got entire teams that are just working their tails off, and there's no way to find out about it. So y'all are kind of filling a great gap.
Yeah, and it feels good because these programs are just as interested as bringing us on board as we want to be on board. So it feels good to put in the work and to do that. And I think we've heard from, different people who have read our newsletter and also used it. We have athletic directors that share the schedules with their coaches, and then their high school athletes, can see girls and women at the Division I and professional level that grew up around the corner from them, and they feel like they can start envisioning themselves there more. And that's something that as I was growing up, I didn't have offers. It wasn't actually a big dream of mine to go pro, and I think part of that reason was I didn't know what it looked like. I didn't know it was possible or that it was a career. And I think it's just now starting to show that there's a business behind it, there's community and excitement behind it.
Yeah. Well, I'm so glad we've had this conversation, because I didn't even realize that y'all started out in writing, that the newsletter was kind of the big initial push. How many pages is each newsletter?
So each newsletter, because it comes to your email, is one email that's probably like, they're brief, but you can read more. So there'll be, for instance, on Monday, there'll be, the 4 main stories of the big things that happened that weekend, or, something big to highlight. And you just kind of can scroll through all 4 and read, the big starts of these stories, and then dive deeper into one that interests you. If you're someone that is interested in one university, or if you're someone that's interested in one sport, or if you're interested in a specific athlete that we're doing a feature on. But I would say they could be as brief as a 5-minute read, or you can dive in and read full stories on our website once you click through them.
Yeah. Well, what I'll do is, if y'all are interested, we have a newsletter that goes out weekly every Sunday, and I'd love to give y'all maybe 2 pages in that, and it would just literally be a copy and paste, and it can help drive traffic to that newsletter, because again, it's all things youth sports, all things Parks and Rec. So that might help y'all get a little more distribution.
Yeah, I would love that. And we have some really talented writers that are, journalism majors, Lisa is a phenomenal journalist, and before this, she was writing for her newspaper because it was the only way to get a story out, and so the stories really are great, so we would love to share them there.
Yeah, that would be great. So tell us a little bit about Lisa. So she's your co-founder. Are you the first person that she said, all right, I'm bringing her officially on the team, or who else is on the team, even if it's just like part-time volunteer or whatever?
Yeah, so I'm the first, official hire, and I came on as the director of growth and marketing. And so in a digital sports media company, that can encompass a lot. And we both wear a lot of hats. Lisa's the founder and, the editor in chief, and, she does a little of everything. And what was really cool about Lisa is that she is a full-time doctorate professor of mathematics. And,
wow.
and so, talk about wearing a lot of hats. And so, she works at San Diego State University, and through that was able to link up with the entrepreneurship program at San Diego State and develop this startup with San Diego State University's resources. And so we've been able to have a team of interns who write and who have press access at these professional games, and going to the San Diego Wave game, and a professional surfing event, or the professional pickleball event that was just in San Diego. And so we have a small team, but coming on the founding team, it's me and Lisa being our founder. So.
And so is this your full-time job, or do you have other sources of income, or do y'all kind of, I'm sure it's bootstrapped on day one, but you kind of envision it to grow?
Yeah, I think we're definitely still in bootstrapping phase. Lisa still is a doctorate professor, but I think is looking for if this could be her next thing to completely take over. And I think as we look into start at the timing that we would want investors really growing this, and I think that's also why it feels so good that the organizations that we're trying to highlight want to bring us on board, because it's something where businesses want to align with this women's sports movement and to get behind a mission-driven company. And, you know, women in the world right now have a lot of purchasing power, and these are people that are avid fans. And so we're looking to grow and make it just our full-time thing. And right now, especially transitioning from being a pro athlete, it's something that I'm used to a bit of an unconventional career and an unconventional lifestyle, and I'm just diving full into it.
Yeah. Yeah. I would say women have almost all this purchasing power.
I like the sound of that.
Right. Right. And they do. They participate in a lot of the buying decisions, head them up, and they usually are the final decision on what kind of money gets spent where. And so it definitely is an underserved community in pretty much every population.
Yeah, I agree.
So then let's talk about the podcast that we're co-creating together. What are some of what would that look like? Are you just going to interview other athletes, other coaches, or kind of what's your ideas around that to get started, maybe in the first 10 interviews?
Yeah, we're really excited to give people not just a regular interview about an athlete and, you know, what they go through and what that lifestyle looks like, which is so interesting on its own, but we're looking to highlight a bit of a behind the scenes moment for these athletes, and something that not just a professional or collegiate person can relate to, but a parent or a youth athlete. And the podcast will be centered around the athlete's commute. And so it's really going to be picking up an athlete and driving them to their training and talking about, you know, those moments, those little insider moments of, oh, where's your head at before training? You know, what's in your tennis bag or your soccer bag, or, you know, your flag football bag, or how do you prep for your training? Where are you coming from? What are, you know, these moments like for you, along with their stories and their individual experiences. So that's what we're looking to highlight and center the conversation around.
Wow, that's going to be so cool. Like, I'm already envisioning you being on like the bus on the way to the game.
Right here. This is it.
This is your studio.
Welcome to the show. My studio.
That's
great. The roads of California were made for this.
That's right. That's right. Because you literally, especially as you get a Tesla, hopefully we'll get you one. You can sit in the back seat and let the car do the driving, and you can do full on interviews and such.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I love it. Okay, well, so now this was kind of a last minute. I literally just had a cancellation, say, Jourdan, you want to do an interview right now? And so this is perfect practice for what you're going to be doing. How many would you like to, in a perfect world, let's say this year, would you like to do, I don't know, 50 interviews, 10 interviews? Have you kind of wrapped your mind around how many athletes you'd like to kind of bring on the show?
Yeah, I think as we work out the logistics, it would be really great to put out an episode bi-weekly. And so every other week, people can expect a different look into a different athlete. And, you know, for us, we're excited because an athlete is not just the professional and the collegiate player on the field, but an athlete is also, you know, someone that's going to training, whether it's someone involved in the business of women's sports and they compete themselves in some sort of activity, and it's taking them to their training. And just this morning, I was able to take our founder and the doctorate professor of math to her tennis training. And that was part of her athlete's commute, you know, for the day. And so there's really a lot of ways we can take this. And so we're going to try to put out something every other week.
Oh, that's fantastic. I actually have some really good connections in the world of tennis. One of our guests on our show was a professional tennis player. He's out in Texas, and now he runs a whole tennis company. I think it's the most successful They will take over an entire massive 20 or 30 court tennis complex and run it for you, and no one does it better than them. But he played professional tennis. He might be a great interview for you. Of course,
Oh,
he's a guy.
yeah, and you know what? That's the thing, is that men are involved within the world of women's sports, and it's been proven that there are male fans of the sport, and I think that can grow. There's male investors in women's sports, and we're so on board on connecting those pieces instead of isolating them. So, I love that and those different kind of conversations.
Yeah, maybe we can get. Oh wait, what's her name? Is it Katie? Katie, the basketball player. The big.
Oh my God, Caitlin Clark.
Caitlin Clark. Boy, that would be that. She's probably like the biggest name in. I don't know. Is she the biggest name in female sports globally right now? I think.
Honestly, right now, I would say she's been one of the biggest game changers in the United States. So I'll send her a message.
Yeah, because that would be. Yeah, that would be fantastic, because she really has done a lot for the sports, and I'm kind of on the outside looking in, but I've almost never heard a lot about female basketball until she was just, churning the pot, literally kicking things up.
Yeah, and now look at where the WNBA is going. So, it's exciting.
That would be awesome. Well, Jourdan, thank you so much for coming on the show today. This just worked out perfectly. And I think it's a great idea for you to do it from the car, where you can tell you're driving, you see the bumps and stuff. I mean, because that's the authentic stuff that it's hard for AI to generate, and people can really feel like. Yeah, that's right. It's real. It's
when
authentic.
When we cut out, and I have to ask someone to say it one more time,
right?
It'll be real.
It's not AI generated.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for coming on the show today. I look forward to creating endless content with y'all and watching y'all grow in y'all's journey and being with y'all as long as we're on the same path. I think all the content you're creating fits squarely within what we're doing, serving the community, raising awareness around sports and young athletes getting into this, especially on the female side. That's a super underserved community. So shout out to Lisa. Yeah. We'll have to get her on here next. That'll be.
I know. You will. No, and I really appreciate it. And again, like, you're part of one of the voices amplifying, what we're doing, what you're doing in your space. So I think it's really cool.
Yeah. Well, safe travels, and look forward to seeing you here in the future.
There.
That's it. Perfect.
All right.
All right. Take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Wow. I think that's going to be one of our best shows. And it's something about that live content that's just, like she said, so real, in the moment, going to a practice, going to a game. Their goal is to kind of interview these people and take you into this truly behind the scenes, kind of like you got a backstage pass to a concert and you get to see them all prepping for the big show. And just such a great idea, and good people. So thank you, Jourdan. Thank you, Lisa. Can't wait till we can create as we kind of launch this show. That's the kind of stuff we want to create. And so if you are a vendor, like she said, that wants to align with either female sports or Parks and Rec, or special events or anything like that, and you'd like to help us amplify and create this kind of content, this is exactly what we're all about. So it was just like a match made in heaven. And I can't say enough about Erin Locke, who's coming on next with the U Sports Mastery Show. Don't miss that. Again, that's every Thursday, 1:30 p.m. Eastern, the U Sports Mastery Show. Thank you so much for introducing us to Jourdan and all the other coaches and people in youth sports that you've introduced us to. He's become a very close friend of mine. And we actually met for the first time in person in Orlando, and now he's coming to several other conventions. So you're going to see his face across a lot of the content that we're producing. And I'll give a little shout out to his company, because I don't think he talks about the work that his company does enough. And it really is a great company and a great business model. So Erin Locke has a franchise model. It's called the National Academy of Athletics. And if you are a Parks and Rec department that has a very robust baseball program and leagues and stuff, and say soccer and football, but you've noticed that there's a lot of interest in volleyball, but you just don't have the skill set or the coaches, you have the facilities, Erin will come in and bring in the coaches, he'll bring in college players and run your entire program start to finish, registration, everything. And then if you would like to add flag football or lacrosse, you can just add it kind of like a buffet style. You just pick what you want, or he'll run the whole thing start to finish. But he also does like summer camps, and it's just amazing what he does. And he's, I think, in 24 cities across America. It's one of the fastest growing franchises in America. And this was all his idea that he started. Shoot, I didn't even ask him the founding date, but I need to have him on more just to say more about the company that he does. So even though he is the host of the U Sports Mastery Show, where he really doesn't talk about his company much, aside from a few promos that we made for him and run, he'll bring on pro athletes like Jourdan. He'll bring on some of the best coaches. He'll bring on officiation, the referees and stuff. What's the other one that he brings on? Oh, athletic directors. And it's just really good content if you're in youth sports. And he talks about a lot of the problems that kids that might get left out of sports because they're not the most athletic, and they'll probably never be a D1 or even a high school athlete, but how important it is to have kids in these coaching programs where they learn these life lessons. His whole show is about this, and it's every Thursday, 1:30 p.m. Eastern, which is coming up in just a few minutes. So another 26-minute countdown, he will go live with the Daily Parks and Rec show on the U Sports Mastery Show, and I'm really happy to create content with him. So thank y'all so much for attending today. Thank you, Jourdan and Lisa, for the work that y'all are doing. Really excited to create another show under the Daily Parks and Rec show umbrella with them. And we will see you soon in a few minutes on the U Sports Mastery Show. Y'all have a great day. Love you guys. Bye.
At DPRS Media Co., we believe Parks and Recreation isn't just a service, it's the heartbeat of our communities. We exist to honor the people, the vendors, and the leaders shaping the future of Parks and Rec. Our mission is simple: to tell their stories, highlight their careers, and celebrate their essential work. Our vision is bold: to be the trusted hub where leaders, vendors, and communities unite, inspiring innovation, sharing wisdom, and building a stronger, healthier nation. Through over 220 live shows and 6 weekly series, the Leadership Series, Facility Maintenance, Young Professionals Network, Youth Sports Mastery, The Rec Room, and Growing Leaders, plus our industry-leading newsletter, the weekly Parks and Rec Post, we're building a media platform made for the Parks and Rec community. And now, we're inviting strategic partners to co-create this story with us. As a partner, you'll gain 12 hours of annual live exposure with custom shows highlighting your expertise, polished 60-second promos refined for maximum impact, year-round visibility with dozens of replays across our media network, premium features in our newsletter, and amplified social media reach across LinkedIn, X, and Facebook. This is your chance to educate, inspire, and lead while connecting directly with the professionals who build, budget, and buy for their communities. This is DPRS Media Co. Let's build the future of Parks and Rec together.